Be original. The world doesn't need another mediocre Drake type beat. Shots fired. How did I get this tweet? I posted a totally unrelated screenshot that included one of the titles of one of the beats I was selling, which was a Juice WRLD type beat. Suddenly I got this series of tweets from a particular rapper who was sick of my uncreative type beats and your uncreative type beats. Now, type beat searches aren't going away anytime soon. I've traced them back as far as 2001, and they show no sign of disappearing in 2023. In fact, they've become cemented in the modern hip-hop landscape. They've also led to some pretty massive hits. I really don't think I need to mention Panda or Old Town Road again, but they are just two of hundreds of so-called type beats that turned into massive hits. Now, what's ironic about a rapper complaining about type beats is that rappers are the reason type beat labels exist. The full conversation I'm not even going to get into, but the one tweet with the most substance, if you want to call it that, says this: everything I see pumped algorithmically on YouTube and SoundCloud are these type beats constantly made by people copying other artist styles and profiting off biting. Be original. The world doesn't need mediocre Drake type beat number 6972. Let's be real. No producer goes into a studio with a rapper, sits down, doesn't communicate with the rapper, doesn't say anything, and just makes a beat with no regard for the rapper's style or input. I mean, maybe they do. That's a pretty bad producer. And I remember around the early 2000s and before that, rappers were telling producers more and more that they wanted certain I mean, rappers have always asked for certain types of beats. I want a storytelling beat, I want a soulful beat, I want a slower tempo beat. And then it became, I want a New York type beat, I want a West Coast type beat, I want a, I don't know, Nas type beat, Outkast type beat. Naturally, producers picked up on this and responded by using this language, by mirroring this language when they uploaded beats to the internet to make it easier for rappers to find their tracks. I mean, it makes sense to meet rappers halfway if a lot of them are using this type of language to describe the beats they're looking for. Why would I, as a producer, not want to adapt to that language to make their search for beats a lot easier so they can find my tracks that are appropriate for the songs they're trying to create? Makes sense, right? Now, also, if J. Cole rapped over a J. Cole type beat on Batman's channel, and if I've produced records for Rick Ross and I upload Rick Ross type beats to my channel, then who are we copying? What are we actually doing wrong, other than triggering some random rapper to post misguided and incendiary tweets? Now back to the tweet. The world doesn't need another mediocre Drake type beat. Let's see if that's true. Let's search for Drake type beat worldwide. Looks like the world actually does need another Drake type beat. But maybe that's just because the world has been brainwashed. All these rappers have been brainwashed to want type beats. But like the guy says, everything he sees pumped out algorithmically on YouTube and SoundCloud are these type beats, constantly made by people copying other artists' styles, right? Like me, you know, I produce records for Rick Ross and I'm copying my own style by making Rick Ross type beats. That's really fucked up of me. So let's go back to YouTube and test out his hypothesis that YouTube's algorithm is actually boosting mediocre Drake type beats. Because I don't think he's correct. I mean, if you're searching for Drake type beats, you're going to get Drake type beats because that's what the YouTube algorithm is going to recommend. But if you're not searching for Drake type beats, why would the YouTube algorithm recommend you a bunch of Drake type beats? That wouldn't make sense. Let's see. I think the guy's being a little dramatic. For example, if I search for old school type beat, what happens? That's a fluke. Hold on, let me try again. All right, let me search for 70s soul type beat. Let me try bitter tweet type beat. All right, I guess I'm wrong. I'll be the first one to admit the YouTube algorithm really is pumping out mediocre Drake type beats and they're shoving them down our throats. I guess the video's over. Okay, but seriously, let me search for 70s soul type beat, right? Where are the mediocre Drake type beats? I don't see Drake anywhere. Let's try experimental hip hop type beat. Wow, look at that. Psychedelic hip hop type beat, alternative, experimental type beat. I mean, you can find anything online, anything. Nobody is manipulating the YouTube algorithm to force Drake type beats down your throat when you're just looking for something original. Drake has made dancehall records, he's made house records, he's made pop records, he's made trap records, he's made Memphis sounding records, he's made boom bap, he's made soulful records, he's made R&B records. So if you produce in any of those genres, and as you're sitting there making music, you hear potentially Drake sounding good on your beat, which is your fucking job as a music producer, then labeling your beats as a Drake type beat is totally reasonable. This is relatable. Producers, when you've made a beat, do you ever just sit there and struggle with how to label it? What artist would sound good on this? What genre did I just create? How should I label this? This happens all the time. Producers aren't just sitting around copying other people's beats and then uploading a Drake type beat because they just heard the Her Loss album and copied the drum patterns on every single track. The gentleman airing his grievances about mediocre Drake type beats makes pretty experimental music. However, the assertions that he's making that somehow there's some grand conspiracy about type beats being unoriginal, already that's a premise that I'm so sick of because it's so ridiculous, is probably one of the funnier things and more ridiculous and ignorant things that I've heard in a while, which I think is saying a lot. So rather than just end there, I want to react to a video that I found pretty interesting. The title is Build a Music Producer Career from Scratch by Dark Label Music Group.
Music production has quickly become the fast food industry, and if you're watching this, then you're most likely a working music producer who is worried about your future, or perhaps you're trying to make it as a producer, but just can't see how it's possible, given that the market is already so saturated.
I need to get my stock footage game up.
And if that's you, I'm glad that you found this video.
I need to look up sweaty producer type stock footage.
Step 1, start with an advantage by putting yourself in the most optimal position to pursue this career. So there's a few things to know here. The first is you want to set up your life to where you have some excess time and money to...
Okay, a lot of people who have left comments over the years on my videos about selling beats tell me that I'm full of shit because they have kids, they have a marriage, they have this and that. That means they have way less time. Look, I chose not to have kids. I chose not to get married. I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, if you set your life up in a way that your time is split among these very reasonable and amazing pursuits, such as spending time with family, raising your kids, these are all good things, but they're things that you chose to do, then you're going to have less time to pursue music as a career. And that's just something to consider, especially if you're watching this video and maybe you're thinking about taking that condom off tonight. People who have jobs, day jobs, people who have kids, people who have marriages aren't automatically going to fail when pursuing a music career. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you can make it easier on yourself, make it easier on yourself.
Generally, it means that we're going to have to sacrifice some things at the start. And this is definitely easier when you're younger. So if you're younger, start now before you get caught in the golden handcuffs. Now, the second thing is stacking your skills. The more skills you have, the harder it is to compete with you. So if you only make trap beats, then so can a million other people. But if you can also write or compose or promote music, well, now you have less competition. And finally, this is important, becoming a successful music producer isn't going to help you get your shit together. You have to get your shit together first in order to become a successful music producer.
Oh, this is triggering.
Or successful in anything, really. And one of the things that helped me a lot was when I was younger, I started doing therapy and I started cutting out, weed and alcohol and
oh shit,
and toxic stuff out of my life so that I could be more emotionally stable and focused and productive when starting my career. Lastly, if you're able to move to a music industry city, then that can definitely help, but it's not required. Again, this is just...
Okay, he's saying a lot of real shit, I'm not gonna lie.
Just looking at what are all the different ways that you can put yourself in the optimal position to succeed at this career. Step 2, apprentice under a veteran music producer to develop your skills and gain experience working with established artists and songwriters. Many of our favorite producers came up working under a bigger producer who could show them the ropes.
I have to mull over this one. I'm not sure if that's true. Also, I can't really teach a person to find themselves under the wing of a major producer. I don't think it's necessary. If I would have found myself working under RZA, that would have been a dream come true. It didn't happen for me. Missy Elliott didn't live down the street from me. I could have pursued that. I think it would have helped quite a bit, obviously. But today, there's a lot of modern day producers were raised by Busyworks, just by watching his videos, for example. So different generation.
Step 3, use that experience to put together a portfolio that proves, without a doubt, that you can make great songs at a higher standard than the average producer.
I don't think he means a literal portfolio as in an EPK or something that you pass around. Let's see what he says.
And this portfolio doesn't have to be huge. It could just be a few songs, but a lot of producers think they are great, yet there is no real evidence of that. Like
that's called social proof. Yep. I think that's smart. Because there are a lot of producers who think that you need to have big placements in order. I want to make a longer video about this. People think that you need big placements and all these industry accolades to compete in the beat selling market online. It's not true. I had plaques when I came in. No one gave a fuck. Because the people who had the good customer service, the good beats, the big catalogs, the right kind of marketing, the content strategy, the web presence, they were running laps around me. And then suddenly they parlayed all of that into industry success. A lot of them did, and they start getting plaques and getting hit singles. If you make a song that you're proud of that showcases your talent, it can be with a so-called unknown rapper. Who cares if it's good music? Promote that, show your social proof, show you can produce good music. I think that's a good strategy.
And we've got to prove ourselves, right? Like, if your sound isn't stacking up against top performing songs in your genre, then just work on that first. And it's important that we hear actual releases, actual songs that you've worked on, not just beats or instrumentals. And with all of that said, just having a killer portfolio doesn't guarantee you work, but
the word portfolio, let's just call it a content strategy.
Step 4, increase your value in the market by thoroughly understanding how to develop talent and how the music business works.
Emphasis on how the music business works, because you can provide a lot of value. Say you're a producer who's selling beats and you understand how the music business works. Suddenly you can mentor your customers. So rather than being the guy that thinks you're gonna A&R every rapper that approaches you, you don't have time for that. You just really don't. You're not gonna A&R them, you're not gonna manage them, you're not gonna do all that. If you're just trying to be the best music producer, it's totally okay to focus on being the best music producer rather than being the best A&R and being the best talent developer or agent, whatever. But if you understand how the music business works, you can advise and add a lot of really helpful value to your customers and collaborators. If a rapper contacts me and says, hey, I want to know how to register this song so I'm getting all my royalties, I live and breathe this stuff. So I know all about the music business. Not everything. I'm not going to lie and say I know everything there is to know about the music business. But I know enough where I can send them resources, send them a guide on publishing, explain what sound exchange is, explain why mechanicals and master royalties aren't the same, that type of thing. That's some value that I can provide the people who are in turn purchasing beats from me and patronizing my business.
Step 5, by completing steps 1 through 4, you can now present yourself to the market with a newfound confidence, feeling 100% certain that you can deliver and be willing to promote yourself without any fear or insecurity.
There are people that don't know shit about the music business who have a lot of confidence, and that goes a long way.
Step 6, set measurable income goals and have a way to track your progress, preferably under the guidance and accountability of an advisor and or manager.
Set goals, because if you're not setting goals and you're not assessing your progress, oftentimes you can feel like every single day you're just not going anywhere, and that's awful. That's terrible for your confidence. I made that video last month maybe where I was talking about how I felt like my sales were way down, but I was able to compare data from this year to last year, and I realized it really wasn't that bad. That helped me. Otherwise, you know, I was gonna go start robbing people and selling drugs, and that's a dark path to walk at age 39.
This one is simple. If you don't have a way to track your progress, then you don't really know what you need to fix.
That too. That's key. I should have said that.
Step 7, and this is a big one. Do everything in your power, ethically, to ensure that enough people know about you until you reach a point where paid work is coming to you. This is called creating demand, and it's the #1 business skill for a producer.
Yeah, if there's no demand, if you're not using the previous methods that he spoke on, like releasing music, promoting yourself, creating content. I don't know if he talked about a content creation strategy, but I'm telling you, create content, put beats out there, be everywhere there are people who could potentially want your beats. If you're not doing that, then it's going to be hard to sell your beats because no one's asking for them, and you're just going to end up begging people to buy your product, and that's not really a great business strategy. Rather than just go through all 12 steps, I'm going to link his full video in the description so you can watch that, because I think it is a helpful video to change your perspective on producing. Because what happens a lot of times, and I see it all the time, is that producers tend to just focus on making beats, uploading them, and hoping that they sell, rather than implementing some sort of strategy. And that strategy comes from understanding the landscape, understanding the methods from getting from point A to point B, from having goals, from being able to assess those goals, and from having a clear, intentional plan. And watching videos such as this gentleman's videos can inspire you to create a plan and hone in on exactly what you're trying to accomplish throughout your music production career. And it challenges us to actually fill in those blank spaces in our overall strategy. So when I see a video that I think is helpful for the producer community, I'm going to try to share it. Shout out to the people for creating it. I think there's a lot of white noise in the online producer content space, and stuff that stands out is valuable, especially when all of us are just making mediocre Drake type beats that are copies of existing songs.